From Wall Street to Main Street, this is Lalate.
It's a big evening of evenings Lalate with huge news about your stocks, your bonds, your crypto, and of course tonight from the shores of Santa Monica, California, your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. In tonight's recording, we're going to go over those big four stimulus checks in every U.S. state sent out by executive order by Joseph Biden, and I have those incredible checks for you tonight. Step 1, subscribe to this channel. Step 2, become a member. And Step 3, get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Later in this recording, stay over this 1-hour broadcast special report. We're going to go over those incredible four stimulus checks in every U.S. state and how to get them. They're coming up later in this recording. I'll get you the data and the details of those incredible checks. Stock market crash at issue? Yes, we could be going much lower as the new week is upon us. I'll tell you why. The housing market crash is just getting started. Then that recession of 2023 is upon us as well. But what do we know going into a new day and a new night? Elon and Lalate. Elon Musk is indicating that major layoffs are coming to Tesla. I'll tell you why, and why the hiring freeze behind that as well is a cure for what's coming with this economy. Then Jamie Dimon and LA, both saying that a storm is out to sea. That storm out to sea is the downward spiral of this U.S. economy. That's why you need to get a stimulus check. I'll have the latest details on that tonight as well. Next up in tonight's recording, we go over the major data of what we're going to see come in this week. Deal or no deal. A deal could be in the works to get gasoline prices down, but would it be trading off for human rights? Then we'll be looking at the housing sales and why that falls across the board continue to erode. Auto sales dramatically down. And then breaking news tonight, big news on a new week as we could potentially have a peak in that inflation announced this Friday. Will it happen? Plus, a major breakthrough on Build Back Better also expected for this week. Will it happen as well? It's a big night. And over this 1-hour broadcast, we have a lot of things to go over. Stimulus checks, Build Back Better, SS300, raising up of your benefits, the bear market, the housing market crash, and where this economy is going. What you need to do is stay with me over this 1-hour broadcast because I have big four stimulus checks with you. Subscribe, become a member, and with that, let's get to the breaking news. As America's most watched show for financial news starts right now. And good evening, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful night for June 5th, 2022 from the shores of Santa Monica, California. A fourth stimulus check is in every U.S. state, and I'm going to go over that incredible check for you coming up later this recording. Stay with me. There is a lot of money, big checks. You qualify. Single, married, with children, without children, on benefits, SSI or SSDI. A fourth stimulus check is in every U.S. state. Step 1, subscribe. Step 2, become a member. And Step 3, stay with me till later in this recording because we're going to go over these incredible four stimulus checks in every U.S. state. But first up, we really do have a lot of major developing details coming this week. I'll have a preview of what's happening later in the week as we have indication that there could be a major breakthrough on the Build Back Better Act, and we could also have a peak for that inflation announced on Friday. That is the CPI number. Let's go over the latest details on that starting right now to lead tonight's broadcast. This coming Friday will be one of the most important days of the week. Why? Because the Consumer Price Index number is released this coming Friday. The CPI shows you generally where inflation is. We have a lot of benchmarks to gauge inflation, like the CPI and the PPI, but this one is the consumer spending. It's being released this Friday, and it's the main data for the CPI. Most indicators now believe that it will show that inflation may have peaked in the month of May. Am I agreeing? I think it's going to be about the same. They say it may be a little bit less than the April read on the CPI. Now, this is interesting because, of course, this impacts your benefits. So we're talking about that SS300. And it also impacts whether the inflation went down because of what Jay Powell did or just went down because consumer spending went down as well. It's a big week ahead of us, and that data is coupled with the news that there may be a breakthrough on the Build Back Better Act this week. As we go into sort of the earliest weeks, mid-weeks of the month of June, the Democrats got to get this Build Back Better Act done really quickly. Why? Because they're only in Congress for middle of the month of August. They're there for the full month of July. And then we have September, and then right after September is the midterm elections. So they need to get those checks out to you before you vote. And if they don't, they are really toast. And that is why the Build Back Better Act negotiations need to really get done and have that major breakthrough this week. Breakthrough does not mean they're going to send you a check this week. It means that they would have the finalization of the negotiations so they could write it up and call for a vote right after that and get you those checks very quickly. Let's go over the Build Back Better Act and the status of it right now. The negotiations are underway between two Democrats who are longtime friends. They are Chuck Schumer and Joe Manchin, Democrat from New York, Democrat from West Virginia. They both like each other a lot, and they are blunt and to the point. There were 3 clauses and 3 add-ons of checks when the Build Back Better Act was passed by the House of Representatives in 2021. Now it's been sitting in the Senate. Would the provisions survive, or would they change? Let's do the analysis starting right now. And it's based upon 2 major developing details, one which came in just on Friday. This is breaking news. $15,000 to $80,000 of forced stimulus checks in that Build Back Better Act. The first add-on is $25,000 for the purchase of your first home. Would that survive? That would likely survive because the cost of buying a home in West Virginia has gone up like everyone else. The housing market is hurting everywhere, and that is because mortgage rates are out of control. So I believe that Joe Manchin would keep that provision in there. That is $25,000 given to the seller in your name at the time of the close of escrow for the purchase of your first home. Wow, that is incredible news. $250 billion of free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. Would it survive? If this was 2021, I would say absolutely not, because Joe Manchin is very against the expansion of anything from Medicare. But I'm going to come back to this and all the Medicare expansion issues later in just a second, because we have a major update on that as well. MSC, would that survive? I believe it would. That is a monthly IRS stimulus check that legislators told tens of thousands of viewers of this channel after they advocated for it back in 2021. They said $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for 6 months. That's $7,000. Now let's hold it up for a second. Let's do a reality check. It's a mere $7,000. The stimulus checks I have for you later this recording are upwards of $85,000. So don't wait for $7,000 when I can get you $85,000 right now from forced stimulus. Now then, let's go to those individual clusters. First, second, and third, which of them would survive and by what equation? Great breaking news tonight, and it's really good news. The first provision, the first cluster, is hazard pay. Would everything in there likely survive? Yes, that would all likely survive. That is the earned income tax credit for essential workers. 1 more year established under third stimulus. Absolutely. Great, wonderful provision. $3,600 for the CTC. Would that survive for 1 more year for the children? Absolutely. $4,000 of elder care. $4,000 of care for young children. Then the home repairs. Would that survive? Sure, of course. Nutrition, yes. What about the $12,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle? Yes, so long as it does not impute anything for the energy sector, which Joe Manchin is the chair of in the Senate. Then when we go to the second cluster of checks, would provisions fall out? Here it gets dicey. Home repairs is already out. That is check A, a forced stimulus check in every U.S. state. I have for you later in this recording. So that's already out. Paid leave, would that be out? It already, in my opinion, is. Joe Manchin is absolutely very much against paid leave. He's made it very emphatically clear. If any provision in the Build Back Better Act he wants out, it is this one. So that's not to survive. Then when we go to the third cluster checks, we bring back that issue I said I'll be back with you a second on. The Medicare expansion. In this third cluster, the checks that would survive are the farmers' checks, the independent contractors' checks, and the free internet. If you need free internet, there is free internet right now. Reach out to the members and volunteers on the community page. But here at that third cluster, we go to those fascinating provisions that expand Medicare. Dental, vision, hearing, lowering the eligibility age of Medicare, the Medicaid gap fix that provides a workaround plan in 12 Republican holdout states. Would any of these provisions, plus the one we saw earlier, the $250 billion of free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities, would any of those Medicare expansion provisions survive? Now, this is breaking news today, folks. If this was 2021, I'd say absolutely not. In fact, 2 weeks ago, I said absolutely not. Why? Because Joe Manchin was emphatically clear last year. He does not want to spend more money on Medicare. He does not want to expand Medicare. He does not want to put more money into Medicare. He believes it's a program that's broken and that's running out of money. So that would have been the recording on this channel. In many cases, it was the recording on this channel 2 weeks ago until last week. The end of last week ended with a report being released. And let me make this very clear. This report last was released in 1985. It's just not 15 minutes ago. Yeah, a couple years ago. That report was released by Janet Yellen last Friday. And what did it say? If you're going to guess, you're going to guess it right. Medicare is not running out of money. Yes, this is wonderful news. This is insanely great news. How long until Medicare runs out of money? Joe Manchin, 2 years. No, Janet Yellen said 75 years. Read my lips, Joe Manchin, 75 years. This is incredible great news. So suddenly all those expansion of Medicare provisions in the Build Back Better Act that Joe Manchin was against because he was worried that Medicare is going to run out of money in the next year or two. No siree, says Janet Yellen. It's going to be funded through 75 years from now. That is far enough for the life expectancy of Joe Manchin. It's also far enough for the life expectancy of people's hairstyles. But anyway, let's get back to the point. The situation is that 75 years of Medicare will still be around, and other people may not, including Fed head Jay Powell and his comedy hour. More about him in a second. Maybe my red shirts will be gone in 75 years. Maybe I will be gone in 75 years. The orchids will still be alive. No, they're fresh orchids, so they're not going to survive either. What will survive in 75 years? Lobster jokes. So let's go back to the great news. The Build Back Better Act has those incredible provisions in there, and they are huge, $15,000 to $80,000. But when? That brings us back to that graphic that I led on. This is where it gets really interesting. This new week has a lot of things going on, and one of the things that absolutely has to go on is the formalization of the Build Back Better Act. Yes, this next week, they got to get this Build Back Better Act negotiations closer to a finish line. I don't mean they have to vote. I don't mean they have to send a check. I just mean they got to get the negotiations wrapped up because we're in early June and they got to get this closer to time to say, hey, staff, go write this up as a bill so we can get moving along. The next week also has the Consumer Price Index number release. That will be big for the Build Back Better Act. Why? It's inflation. It'll give you a guidance on how hot inflation is in this U.S. economy. No one has gotten inflation more accurately than me since 2021. So let me tell you where I think this CPI number is going to come in. Last year, Jay Powell, the Federal Reserve, Janet Yellen, and Wall Street all really had inflation wrong. They said it was going to be 2 to 3% in December of 2021 and temporary transitory. I said, no, it's not. I said it's going to be 8% and sustained, and it's going to be around for a while. It was. It came in at 8% in December. Then, when we went to this month of March, where everyone said it was going to come down, it's coming down. What the Jay Powell comedy hour did worked. I said, no, it did not work, and it's not coming down. In fact, it went up. What happened in April? It was about the same. So the analysts going into Friday are saying it will be a little bit lighter than April, but May's number released this Friday, they think it's going to be really at the peak. And then after that, it's going to pull back. Do I agree? I sort of agree. I don't see any other major supply chain disruption issue that could drive it even worse. The only thing that could potentially happen is something with Putin that we don't see actually apparent at the moment. Other than that, I believe that inflation may be at its highest levels. Now, that's not to say it's coming down. There's two different parts of that equation. I think it has really peaked at about 8%. But is it coming down dramatically in this May read? No, I really don't think. I don't think. Remember, we're not going to see a pure number on Friday for inflation. We're going to see generally just a CPI number. And the analysts basically say this may be the peak, but they're not saying it's coming down. Or how quickly it's going to come down, how dramatically it's going to come down. That is very two different analysis. And this is why the Build Back Better Act is going to get done. And this is why you need to get those forced stimulus checks in every U.S. state. A forced stimulus check is in every U.S. state. And the great news is that you don't have to wait for this. You don't have to wait for it. In fact, you just have to stay to me with later in this recording, because we're going to go over these incredible checks in every U.S. state. The Build Back Better Act won't be giving you a check this month, but they need to get it wrapped very quickly because the negotiations, because the get that check out to you before the midterm elections is really getting close. Step 1, subscribe to this channel. Step 2, become a member. And step 3, get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. The Build Back Better Act is supported by economic data that is weak. And the economic data that's weak as we go into a big evenings tonight is left and right. First, auto sales down 24% year to date. Housing, really the bear of the bear market, down 17% year to date. The housing market crash of 2022 certainly underway. There's a deal on gas that's coming up later in this recording that it could be happening, but currently the gas prices are out of control. Meantime, Lalate and Jamie Dimon, the head of JP Morgan Chase, repeats nearly verbatim my comments said on this channel since the month of February. Last week, the head of JP Morgan Chase literally verbatim said what I've been saying since February, which is there's a storm out to sea. The fate of this U.S. economy is very dicey. And he says you need to prepare for that storm. He calls it a hurricane. I call it a storm. I say out to sea. He says down the road. Same equation. We're not just talking about recession. We're just talking about downward of this spiral of this economy. Housing market crash, of course. Stock market crash. Yes, we're just getting started. We're down 22%. In a recession, you go down 47%. But then came this. Lalate and Elon Musk. I've been telling you, and you've been seeing, and you've been reporting back to me, that there's a major shift in the labor market in the United States, and it's not appearing in the data on Wall Street. We're going to do the same thing right now in the live chat as we've been doing the last few nights. If you're in the live chat right now, get ready to answer and type some responses to some questions. Yes or no? Do you see more businesses, especially big box retailers like Walmart and Target, do you see more or less employees at the checkout stand when you go to checkout and pay for your products? In the last few days, viewers have been astronomically saying less. In fact, they've been saying none. They've been saying, hey, I used to go to checkout stand just a few weeks ago, and there were 3 or 4 people. Now it's down to 0. They're doing it all electronically with a scanner. So do you see less or more employees at the checkout stand in your big box retailer compared to just 2 weeks ago? Let's do it based upon 2 weeks ago. And I want to see if you're seeing less or more. In the last few days, viewers have been saying less, and they've actually said none. That is the first part of the equation. The next part of the equation is yes or no is the question on this one. Have you heard your friends or neighbors being told they're laid off? Do not come back. You've been laid off from your job. Yes or no if you're in the live chat. Viewers have been saying yes, left and right for the last few weeks. Now, this is where I rely upon you as a viewer, because you're the eye and ears of the American public. You're in every state across the country. You're in every city. You're in every walk of life. And you have been reporting to me for several weeks, the data is really not accurate. The Wall Street data is not accurate. Back about a month ago, Walmart said they brought too many employees back to the floors of the stores. And they said we have too many employees on the floor of the store. Now, that's not saying they're laying them off. That's not saying they're having a hiring freeze. But it basically says it could be coming. And immediately when that's happened a month ago, I said to viewers, have you been seeing less people at Walmart when you check out? The viewers said yes, all the major retailers. And then the data that was released on Friday from the job market showed that your reporting has been accurate and that Wall Street's has not. What have you been reporting? You have been reporting that people have been laid off, that businesses are about to go under or are going under, and that there really is not a lot of job opportunities out there. What was the data released on Friday? The data released on Friday showed not a lot of private job creations as expected, number one. Number two, 200,000 new jobless claims in the week before that. That was a Thursday data. And the last one was really fascinating. Showed the vast majority of people having layoffs are people who worked in businesses that said, we're going belly up, we're closing our doors, we cannot survive. This is really fascinating, and that's what you've been reporting. Now, what did Elon Musk say yesterday on a weekend of June 2022? He basically said what you and I have been saying. He said, this economy is getting really bad, one. Number two, the current employees, 10% of you can stay home and not come back. I have to lay you off. Number three, the rest of you looking for a job, I'm putting a sign on the door. Hiring freeze. What is a hiring freeze? A hiring freeze means that there will be no job interviews happening anytime soon. We're not hiring any more employees. This is what happened when you have a recession. I've been saying this since the month of February. In a recession, you have hiring freezes where employees say, don't come and ask for a job for 2 more years because we're not hiring anyone for 2 more years. First it's layoffs, then it's hiring freezes. And that is why the Build Back Better Act needs to get done. Now, this is also why you need to get a forced stimulus check in every U.S. state, because that situation is changing so dramatically. I've been reporting for several weeks that the next 90 days is very dicey. That comes back to what Diamond and Lalate have been both been saying. In 90 days, the downward spiral of this U.S. economy is going to be very pronounced, and you cannot wait. You need to get a forced stimulus check right tonight. How do you do it? It's coming up in the second half of this video. In the second half of this video, we're going to go over how to get that incredible forced stimulus check in every U.S. state you qualify. Single individual, married, with children, without children. Adult, young, on disabilities, not on disabilities. SSI, SSDI. Veterans benefits, yes. Rent own, it's all for you. It's coming up in the second half of this video. How do you do it? Step 1, subscribe. Step 2, become a member. Over 100 new members a day. Why? Because this is the channel with the viewers that succeed. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. The new week brings a lot of also corporate earnings, and those corporate earnings will give us guidance on where this economy is going. We have Campbell Soups reporting on Wednesday, and then we have High Five Below on Wednesday as well. On Thursday, we have DocuSign, but then on Friday, of course, is the consumer sentiment number released at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then the CPI released at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The other big developing story tonight, of course, is this very, very fascinating change of equation on the oil front. There could be a deal tonight to reduce the price of gasoline you're paying at the pump. It is a major breaking news story tonight, and it's far from over. Let me tell you what's going on. Let me tell you what the idea is, and then I'll go over the backstory on it. The idea is to get the oil from Saudi Arabia, to flood the world markets with Saudi Arabian oil, to bring down to remove some of the shortages of gasoline, increase production, increase the amount of available oil, decrease the price, and get us out of this horrific price surge. Who's behind it? The White House, specifically Joe Biden. He said going into the weekend, he's ready to go to Saudi Arabia and do the deal. This literally came out of nowhere. It literally came out of nowhere. Now, of course, the graphic you see on the screen is that a deal on gas would be a trade-off on human rights. And this is as the concern that Brent crude, the international price of Brent crude, could surge to $185 a barrel, and the price you're paying at the pump could go to $10 a gallon. All right, now let me tell you the backstory on this one. This is where it gets really interesting. The President of the United States is making a very quick move now in June. But why now in June? First, let's go over the time horizon. This doesn't make a lot of sense. Back in the month of October of last year, I told you there's 100,000 Russian troops at the Ukrainian border. And if they invade Ukraine, we're going to have a big problem for next year. I said the major issue would be the implosion of the U.S. economy. And at issue is the surging price of gasoline if Putin invades. Who also said that at the time? Joe Biden did. He told Janet Yellen, his Treasury Secretary, go do a report on what we do if Putin invades Ukraine for purposes of oil. She did the report, and they had no backup plan. I feature this a lot on this channel over the last few months. I'm not going to keep on saying it. But her undersecretary was lambasted on the news saying, where was your plan to get a backup oil plan? And every time the question is asked, the question is avoided. Now, let me tell you what the White House did and what the White House didn't do with the solution for the oil. They initially reached out to Venezuela, who has an embargo against them for human rights, and they didn't follow through on it. Then they reached out to United Arab Emirates for a short period of time, and they didn't follow through on that as well. Next up, they were relying on the JCPOA, which looked like the best idea of all of them. That is a deal that would basically remove the sanctions against Iran, for Iran promising to end nuclear proliferation, and the Iranian oil would flood the market. That deal seemed to suddenly stop. We, to this day, don't know why the deal did not go to the finish line. It literally was there. Then we had the news about Brazil. That also is on the table. Finally, OPEC Plus was reportedly approached by the White House and then not approached by the White House. Throughout this equation, a lot of these oil producers were getting angry because they were approached but not finalized with a deal from the White House. It all came to a head on Memorial Day weekend, that Sunday, where I really told you this could be the real help for us. And what was that news? On that Sunday, the Western allies finally banned Russian oil. I know it took a few months, but they finally did it. With the exception of the waiver countries of Hungary, Czechoslovakia, and also one other country, they agreed to ban Russian oil in the Western allies. I love the idea because finally all the countries are not doing Russian oil. That would cause them to all find the backup for it. After that news broke, there was a surprise that I was shocked to even report. The surprise was that OPEC Plus said, we may consider banning the Russian oil. This came out of nowhere because OPEC Plus was traditionally a country that had reduced production of gasoline during this Russian embargo. And when we needed more oil from OPEC, they actually reduced it. They were part of the problem. Suddenly they pivoted and said, we'll ban the Russian oil. That was number one. Then came the huge news midweek when OPEC Plus made the following announcement. We are considering ramping up and will be ramping up massive production of gasoline in the month of July and August to bringing it back to 10 million barrels per day, which was pre-COVID levels in the next weeks thereafter. We're done. We have nearly what we need. We have the ramp up of the production of gasoline that replaces the OPEC Plus part of the equation. Are we done completely? Not really. We had two parts of the equation. Russian oil was 2.5 million barrels and OPEC Plus was about 1 million barrels. So the OPEC Plus would be reverted. But what about the Russian oil? To get that Russian oil replaced, it could be OPEC Plus, but Joe Biden said, I'm going to use Saudi Arabia. What? Now, this is really where it gets weird. The White House, in a comment about the OPEC Plus deal that could potentially really replace the Russian oil and get us out of this entire problem altogether, did not thank the OPEC Plus countries. The White House comments were very dry at best, almost to the point of being rude. Then, within 24 hours, the White House says we're going to Saudi Arabia itself. That Joe Biden himself is going to go to Saudi Arabia and say, let's do a deal on oil. Now? Now? Could have done this in October of last year. And then why Saudi Arabia? OPEC Plus seems to be the one that's helping you, of which Saudi Arabia is part of. Doesn't really make a lot of sense. Also, what doesn't make sense is this. Saudi Arabia has been the subject of human rights violations, embargoes against Saudi Arabia because of human rights violations. Why have we chosen Saudi Arabia, the human rights violator, for gasoline when we could choose Venezuela, the human rights violator, for gasoline, Brazil, the human rights violator, for gasoline, or just abstain on Russian oil, the major human rights violator? It's like we're choosing the lesser of all three, violators. It doesn't make sense, and nowhere in the statements from the White House is explained. The takeaway for you is that this is great news. The great news is that if this really is done, if this really is finally done, after so many attempts and then pullbacks and attempts and pullbacks, this will get the gasoline down once and for all. That is great news. But I have bigger great news for you, and that bigger great news is, what I'm about to say? Yes, a forced stimulus check is in every U.S. state. A forced stimulus check is in every U.S. state, and I'm going to get you that forced stimulus check in the second half of this video. Those incredible forced stimulus checks in every U.S. state were the result of me and you. Back in the month of March, viewers asked me, LA, can you go find me a forced stimulus check? Let's make it clear. These are not checks done by Congress. No, no, no. There's 3 ways to get checks. Congress, this is not that. Executive order, this is that. And also from your states, this is that. Viewers ask me to go find checks, and that's what I do. If you're new to this channel, what you're watching one of the most watched financial news channels in America right now, with the #1 show for financial news in primetime. But for the second half of all the videos, I get your checks. I've been doing this since day one. $50 million I've gotten viewers for this channel over the last year and a half. No one ever has done anything like this, and I'm doing it to this day. What I do is I find checks for viewers. I say, here are the checks, go get them. I teach and train you how to get the checks, and you go out and get them. And the second half of this video, we're going to go over these 4 stimulus checks in every U.S. state. They are incredible. Step 1 for you is to subscribe to this channel. Go right in this video right now and hit that subscribe button. Step 2 is to go under the video and hit that join button. Join and become a Purple Hawk, Purple Power Cow, Cino VIP member right this moment, because you want to get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then stay with me for the second half, because we're going to go over those incredible checks in every U.S. state. Then we'll be turning back to what's going to happen next week, and we'll be looking at what's going on with this U.S. economy. Step 1, subscribe. Step 2, become a member. Step 3, get that incredible newsletter. And finally, stay for me all the second half and get those 4 stimulus checks in every U.S. states. From the shores of Santa Monica, California, we have a big second half. We're just getting started. But first, here's a little bit about the members community page if you have questions more about this. I'll see you back in 60 seconds as Evenings LA continues. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join Lalate Daily for the excitement of the new Lalate live daily. The excitement starts on mornings Lalate at 9 a.m. Home Lalate returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons Lalate at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on Lalate. And the excitement continues right now in a big second half as a 4 stimulus check is in every U.S. state. And this big second half, we're going to go over that incredible check. Have you become a member? You need to right now. Go right on this video and hit that join link under the video. Join and become a member of this channel tonight. You don't want to miss any of these incredible checks. Step 1, subscribe. Step 2, become a member. And step 3, get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. A 4 stimulus check is in our state tonight, and that came from executive order from Joseph Biden and also from your states. But you're not going to see this anywhere else in broadcast, print media, cable news, or anywhere else because they don't cover it. I do. Let's go over what's going on. Back in the month of March, viewers said, "Hey, can you find me a check?" And I looked high and low, and I did. I didn't just find one check. I found a couple. I labeled them with a lettering system. Check A, check B, check C, and yes, check D. Who qualifies? A wonderful longtime viewer, Kat, says, "Ella, you do eligibility really well." It's important to know eligibility. Who qualifies for these? You do. Single, married, with children, without children, on benefits like SSI, SSDI, veterans benefits, not on benefits, with children, without children, rent or own, every U.S. state. Let's go get it. Are you ready? I'm ready. The 4 stimulus checks in every U.S. state start with the very first check, and that is check A. It is a $6,500 to $12,000  4 stimulus check in every U.S. state. Yeah, I don't go for small checks on this channel. I go for massive checks because I need you to be financially independent. Let's look at see how you get this check and what this check is about. This very first check, this check A, is monstrous. $6,500 to $12,000. And that incredible check is for you. And it is for you if you make $75,000 or less, single individual, married couple, $150,000 less, go get it. If you're on benefits, go get it. It's called the Homeowners Weatherizing Grant Check. How do you get it? Very simple. Step 1, subscribe to this channel. Step 2, become a member. Go into the membership, and then step 3, open that membership newsletter delivered Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. Go right down that membership newsletter to find check A. And there you found it. There it is. And it describes a little bit more about check A and then gives you the link to apply. It sends you into the nationwide website. You choose your state. Then you choose the Homeowners Weatherizing Grant and you apply. But you're not done there yet. You're going to go get a check B as well. Check B is $15,000 to $80,000. It's a 4-stimulus check in every U.S. state. Single, $75,000 less, go get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, go get it. And if you're on benefits and you own, go get it. It is absolutely incredible. And the average viewer of the channel is tracking about $66,000 to $80,000. How do you get this incredible check? You know the routine. Step 1, subscribe to this channel. Do it right now. Hit that subscribe button. Step 2, become a member. Do it right now. Where it says join the channel. If you're on the live chat, you notice people with an emoji behind their name. They are members. And step 3, open that membership newsletter. Go down in that membership newsletter, delivered to you Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alerts, and find check B. Describes it and then gives you the link. You go in and apply, and you are done with check B, but you're not done with me. No, because I got you check C. Check C is a $2,000 12-month averaging check, MSC, monthly stimulus check, that viewers have been getting for several years on this channel. Yeah, you heard me right. I almost said several weeks. It's actually years. It is astronomical. How do you get this check C? And what is it for? It's for my renters. There you go. Renters and also homeowners. Step 1, subscribe and become a member. Step 2, go down to that membership newsletter till you find check C. Then at check C, I tell you what it's about: rent, utilities, mortgages, and more. And I tell you how to get it by calling. Yeah, on check C, you're not making an online application. No, you're making a phone call. Actually, 15 of those phone calls. You're making lots of phone calls because it is, I'm going to tell you who to call, where to call, what to say, and how to say it. It is astronomical. Check C dates back to the very first days of this channel in December 2020, when viewers said, it's winter. The heating oil prices are through the roof. They haven't gotten that second stimulus package done between Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin. You got me a check. And I looked high and low and I found this: rent, utilities, mortgage assistance in December. Helped pay people's bills, survive them through the thick of winter at a very difficult time when there was not a lot of money around. I got viewers about $250,000 for this at the time. But the greatest part of that story was this. At the time, I had a piece of proposed legislation as an exclusive come across my table. And I said, if this becomes law, you are really going to be in a good position, because it's the same thing you're doing with me right now, just a lot more money. What they were doing with me at the time, I called purple. But this proposed piece of legislation on my desk, I said, if this becomes law, I'm calling it third stimulus. I coined the expression. And guess what happened? It became a law. And at that point, I had trained you, as the viewer of this channel, the skill set. Skill set is very important on this channel. I had trained you the skill set of how to get this purple money, which then became third stimulus. A lot of people need training about picking up the phone and calling places. A lot of people need training about what to say and what not to say. I had a whole thing at the time. Don't say this, do say that. Don't say something I don't say. Say exactly what I say and make these phone calls and make them in this sequential order. And viewers did that. You got that wonderful skill set, and then the successes started rolling in. That check C, at the time called third stimulus, really delivered monster sums of money. I told viewers on average you may be able to get about $15,000. They got on average $45,000 in every U.S. state. Look at the numbers. Here's Nisi from 20,000 all the way up to 30,000. She's in all the live chats every night. Then utilities. Marco's at this number, but his brother-in-law got $15,000 for utilities. Snap, his brother-in-law got $25,000 a year over 10 years, $250,000. Let's look at the combos. Nisi was at 23,000 at the time. She keeps on getting another $8,000 every few weeks. Now she's over 50,000. There's Mark. Notice Mark at 32,000. Well, I told Mark go get more money. He did. He went from 32 to 50,000 to then 100,000 to then 166 because he got check B. Here's Lorraine. She was at 105. Now she's at 120. She keeps on going back and getting more money at 120,000. She's still riding higher. These incredible check Cs are all in the membership newsletter. Step 1, subscribe. Step 2, become a member. Step 3, go down that membership newsletter and go get that check C. Let's recap, and let me also give some other tidbits for you tonight as well. Step 1, you got to subscribe to this channel. You can't miss any breaking news coming to this channel throughout the day. The news cycle is changing very dramatically, even on the weekends, but certainly during the week when the news comes by the hour, by the minute, and I have a very different video throughout the day happening nearly every hour. So you can't miss any breaking news or any breaking stimulus. Number 2, hit that bell on the front of this channel. There's a little bell that governs how you get alerts. There's a bell, push it, and make sure it's set to all notifications. All notifications, the little bell at the front of this channel. That way you make sure you receive the membership newsletter alert via the YouTube at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday. Third, of course, become a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino, VIP. The link is under the video. Become a member and get that incredible newsletter across the board. Now, here are some other tidbits to go for you. First, a few people in the last few days have forgotten that the membership newsletter is delivered Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. So Pacific Standard Time is not the same standard time across the United States. So if you're on the East Coast, you're East Coast Standard Time, EST, East Coast Standard Time. If you're the Midwest, you may be CT. So make sure you know how different the time standard is for you. Here's an example. 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time and is 9 o'clock Central Standard Time. So if, let's say, you're in Missouri, you're 9 o'clock Central Standard Time when you get the newsletter alert from YouTube. And if you're on the East Coast, you are 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Finally, if you have a question about how to open the newsletter, how to manipulate the user, how to use it, then send me a private message. I have about a 4-hour turnaround time. I'm pretty fast in responding back at Facebook. Private message at Facebook. It's facebook.com/LLA News, and I'm here to help you. And with that, let's go right back into the breaking economic data that's at issue that supports Build Back Better Act and what you need to know going into this week. This week is going to be a dramatic week with so much at issue and so much that could go left and right. What do we have going on this week? Well, of course, we have that CPI number being released on Friday. That will show you how big that inflation is coming in. And then just half an hour later, we have the consumer sentiment number. That is big because that consumer sentiment number gives you guidance on where the consumer thinks this economy is. What is the reaction going into this new week? May CPI is expected to be a little bit weaker than April. Here's what Art Hogan, the beloved analyst, says about the read expected for Friday. If the CPI comes in near or at consensus on Friday, I think investors could feel better. So he thinks coming in what they expected as consistent would be good. Investors are more in a constructive phase, and they can carry through if the CPI is anywhere near consensus or better. Headline inflation, including food and energy, is running at about 8.5% in March, so they're hoping the CPI will ease by the end of the year at half that percent. Oh boy, Art is saying exactly my number. Whoa. So I've been saying that by the end of the year, the inflationary number is going to come down to 4%. Well, that's also what Art Hogan's, I guess, now saying. Good. That's, of course, not what Jay Powell's saying. He says 2% inflation by the end of the year. Jamie Dimon says that things are not going to look really good in the next 90 days. Department of Labor says my numbers as well. They say 4% inflation by the end of the year. What does this mean for you and your benefits? Well, despite whether we have a recession or we don't have a recession, here's what you need to know. Jay Powell is trying to get that inflation down. It will come down. But this is why Joe Biden needs to make that swap from cola to inflation. What's at issue? If Joe Biden makes that swap from cola to inflation, as he so promised in his presidential platform at joebiden.com, you'd lock in $200 more per month right now, not just this month, not just this year, but lifetime. And then if inflation does track at 4% later this year, as I say, as Art Hogan now says apparently, and as the Department of Labor said last week, they're also sort of now repeating me, aren't they? Then you get another $100 on top of that. That's SS 300. Joe Biden needs to make that swap from cola to inflation. Are we worried that inflation could come down really dramatically? No, but I'm worried that Joe Biden doesn't make that swap quickly enough. That is why the next 90 days is really important, because we will not have a recession in 90 days, but we could potentially have inflation lower in 90 days. So Joe Biden needs to make that swap in the next right away, before inflation comes down in the next 90 days. That brings us to the analysis of what's going on in the next 90 days. Let's go back to Lalate and Jamie Dimon. Both of us say that there's a storm out to sea. And when we're saying the storm out to sea, we're not referring to recession per se. We're talking about economic downturn. And what I want to make very clear to you tonight and over the next few nights of this channel is I don't want you to get too strung up on terminology of what these things are for this economy. I just want you to know that it's a downturn for this economy. It's a downturn, and it's very, very severe. In the next 90 days, what's going to happen? First, we have the concern that Joe Biden makes that swap from cola to inflation right away. You're going to have 2 or 3 interest rate spikes from the Federal Reserve within 90 days. I believe the Fed is going to do half, and quarter at the next 3 FOMC meetings. The next one is just a few weeks away, by the way. And that would bring down inflation a little bit, but not that much. It would certainly surge your spending at home. You have credit card debt, you have car loans. Yeah, all that money will cost a lot more money. Try to remove anything that's variable interest rates at home, like a variable mortgage rate. You don't want them. Get rid of them right away. The next 90 days with Diamond in LA, what else is that issue? Well, the downward of the economy. That bear market is just getting started. We're going to spiral much lower because we're not done there yet. Housing market, yeah, the housing market data is going to be much more worse because we really haven't seen the data from since the mortgage rates surged out of control starting in about March. We've seen homes that's closed escrow before that implosion of the mortgage industry. What else could happen in the next 90 days? Of course, you're already reporting it. That's what we did early in this recording. The labor situation. I believe that the labor situation is going to be very bad in 90 days from now. And that is all part of the downward spiral of this U.S. economy. And that is why you got to get a forced stimulus check in every U.S. state. You cannot wait. My focus for you is to give you a lot of fire under your feet and say, hey, we got a lot of other issues like oil, which I'm not even touching on just yet of the next 90 days. You need to get that forced stimulus check in every U.S. state. The situation is changing so dramatically for the downward spiral that you need to become a member right now before that storm out to sea comes on land. Step 1, subscribe. Step 2, become a member. Step 3, get that newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Get this money. As viewers have been sending me very nice messages on private on social media, they want to get this money right away because I've been telling you, get the money right away. The storm is out to sea. It will come on land. And what I've also made very clear to you is I don't know if there will ever be stimulus for a recession next year. I don't know if there will be. I know there's stimulus right now, and that's what I have for you. So get this right now so that you are in a better position if that storm out to sea comes on land. And then we'll deal with the recession next year when it comes. I don't know what the fate has for us as a family with recession or stimulus, but I know I have stimulus for you right now. There will be, in my opinion, a stimulus stampede in 90 days. That stimulus stampede will involve people rushing in and asking for assistance, laid off, mortgage, stagflation, maybe student loan problems. I don't know how much money will be around in 90 days. They'll be asking for PUA, doesn't exist. FPUC doesn't exist. EIDL doesn't exist. A lot of the stimulus packages of 2021 don't exist anymore. And what I will say is get the money I have for you tonight. And that is why, as you are watching tonight, you're in a better situation. You're in a better situation because you are a member, you have stayed a member, and you have continued to push and get every darn check that's available. And guess what? There is another check that's potential for you, and that is check D. A check D is available in 24 states. I'm going to update the list this week as well. Those 24 states are paying out a residual leftover of third stimulus. If you're averaging about $2,000 a check, it is a single check. And in many cases, it's an automatic check. How do you learn about Check D? Of course, yes, it's in the membership newsletter. I do it all for you. As wonderful viewers last night said, you know what? It's very, very elaborate. It's very, very complicated until LA came on the scene. He made it very simple for everyone. He put it together in a simple, formulated way in a membership newsletter, delivered Monday through Friday. There's nothing like this, and there never will be. That's why you want to become a member of this channel. Step 1, subscribe. Step 2, get that incredible newsletter. And then step 3, stay with me throughout the night as the programming continues from the shores of Santa Monica, California. We have a big night and we have a big week ahead. The recession, 2023. The downward spiral of this economy, the next 90 days. What are the names for them? Who will know? We don't really care. All we care is about getting as much financial independence we can going into that spiraling downward turn of the economy. This channel does 3 things for you. Tells you where we are right now as an economy. Tells you where we are going as an economy 3 months out, far in advance, before anyone else. And then gets you the money so that you endure and survive both of those pitches. And with that, stay with me throughout the night because we have shows continuing. Next up is the beautiful details of Evenings Lalate every night at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Street Stimulus, of course, at 7. Countdown at 6. Extra at 8. Then Sunset at 9. And the shows continue throughout the morning and overnight as well. Early mornings on Lalate at 4 a.m. Mornings live on air at 9. And 11 a.m. is the wonderful home edition as well. Don't forget our Lalate live edition, which airs every night on this channel starting at about 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. From the shores of Santa Monica, California, stay informed, stay focused, continue to advocate, continue to push, get every check you need, and become a subscriber and a member. Go right in this video right now, subscribe, become a member, and from the shores of Santa Monica, California, have a beautiful night. God bless.